Las Vegas Royale. This is a simple dice game for 2 to 5 players, a competitive game, and if you're okay with the gambling theme, a family game, because the game is simple enough that you could play with young gamers. I play with my daughters, the youngest one is 8. I even played it with my wife, so this is a true family game in the sense that you can also include your non-gaming spouse, and maybe the non-gaming spouse will like it. My wife liked it, and she's one tough judge of games. She's not like you and I, we like games, she doesn't like most games, but she liked this one. So I can already anticipate part of my conclusions in telling you this is a solid family game if you're okay with the gambling theme. And there's also a template that we'll look at it later that represents a bar, and you can send people to drink, and as they drink they lose opportunities, which I guess can work as a cautionary tale, but I digress. The game is played around this dice tray here, surrounded by a template that represents six casinos, each identified by a number between 1 and 6. Then you have a deck of money cards. You shuffle them together, and at the beginning of each round you draw 6 pairs, and then you place them in order from the least valuable pair to the most valuable pair. If there is a tie, then the one that goes above is the one that has the single largest card. And so here we go from 70,000 to 1,000, 100,000, all the way up to here. And this is the most valuable if I did not make any mistake. Now, the game is played in 3 rounds. The point is that we're trying to acquire as many of these cards as possible, and at the end of the 3rd round, the wealthiest player wins the game. Each player also starts with 2 chips. You will get 2 new chips at the beginning of each round, regardless of how many you still have saved, and each chip is worth $10,000 at the end of the game. Each player has a pool of dice, all regular dice with the exception of 1 die, which is a bigger die. Now, I'm going to explain the basic game first. The game can be played in basic or advanced mode, and the advanced mode has a lot of variety and replay value in it. But the basic idea and the basic game is this. Players will alternate taking turns. When it is your turn, you take all of the dice that you still have in your pool, you drop them in the tray, and then you choose all the dice of any one number. Say, if I select 6, I select these 2 dice. If I select number 5, I select those, and so on and so forth. And then you take those dice and you place them in the corresponding casino. Suppose that I choose 6, and I must take all of the dice showing that number, and I put them there. And that would be it for my turn. Now, next player does the same, rolls the dice, and this player here chooses 4 and places it there in casino number 4. And we continue like this until all players have assigned all of their dice. I want to play with one more player. So that also means you probably figured this out, that some players may run out of dice before other players, because if I played a lot of dice, well, then I'm gonna be done sooner. If, for example, I decide to place, that would be interesting. Let's do that. And so on and so forth. So we play until all dice have been assigned, and at that point we check every casino. First, we check for ties. If players have a tied number of dice, they need to remove them. Also, when you count dice, the larger number counts as 2. So, for example, when we're checking for ties, this would be a possible situation. We have 3, 1, 2, and 2. These 2 players remove the dice because 2 and 2, they tie. And we do like this, removing ties from all casinos. After that, the player has the most dice in a casino, gets the largest card. The second player gets the lowest card, and if there are more players there, they don't get anything. So we simply continue like this, casino after casino, until they've all been assigned. Rinse and repeat, that is, set up a 2nd round, and then a 3rd round, play the same, and then use count your money plus money from the chips. The chips, you can also use them during the game in case after you roll your dice, you don't like your roll. So instead of choosing a number and putting all dice of that kind in a casino, you spend the chip, you discard it, and then you simply take all of your dice back without placing. Basically, the chip buys you the right to pass after you see your die roll. This is the basic game, which is good enough, really. But of course, you may have figured it out. That means that in a basic game, high rolls are always better than low rolls, because the 1 will always pay off less than the 6. There are some exceptions, of course, because depending on how things are played. Say, for example, look at that situation out there. We have 120 made of a 90 and a 30, and then we have 130 made of an 80 and a 50. Because of that, this is more valuable, at least for the player who gets the first card, because the highest card there is higher than the highest card in the next slot. But overall, 1s are always going to be worse than 6. That's just the way it is. But not in the full game. That basically gives more value to locations, to the casinos 1, 2, 3. You have these templates, and they're double-sided, so great variety. You can shuffle them and choose 3 random ones, or you can simply select the ones that you like, which is how we play it. And then you simply place those templates next to those 3 locations, only 1, 2, 3. So if you have 4 to 6, those are good because they have better jackpots here, but these ones will allow you to activate these tiles. Basically, every time that you place dice in a casino, no matter how many you're placing, you get to activate that tile. Some will simply give you immediate rewards. For example, this one gives you rewards for the number of casinos in which you have dice. If you have casinos in 1 or 2 locations, so if you have dice in 1 or 2 casinos, you get 1 or 2 chips. If you have dice in 3 locations or more, you get 10,000 bucks per location. So right now, 1, 2, 3, purple player will get 30,000 just for adding ones there. So that balances the fact that the payoff is a lot lower. Other tiles will give you different advantages. Here you simply roll 2 dice, you choose one of them, and then you choose one of these advantages, which can be a chip, 2 chips, 30,000, activate another tile, move a die from your supply to a casino, or from a casino back to your supply, or place one of your dice there, and if the die is still there, hasn't been replaced by other dice, at the end of the round, you cash in 60,000. And then you have tiles that are actual true mini games. That's not the right token, but it's good enough. Basically, you will use these 2 extra dice that don't belong to any set. You roll them. Oh, that's an easy one. Basically, in this minigame that you get to play when you place dice in that casino, in this minigame you roll the dice, and then you choose to stay or to keep going. If you choose to go, then you have to guess if the next dial will be lower or higher. I'm gonna say it's gonna be lower than 12. If I roll 12, I was wrong, otherwise anything else will be good. Oh, I rolled a 5. Now I go here and I can choose to take a chip or keep going. I keep going, and it says it's going to be higher than 5. And I was totally correct. Look at that, it was a 6. So now I keep going, and same like this, until you either reach here and you collect, or you stop and you collect your reward, or you want to go, you decide to go, and you guess wrong, and then you don't get anything. That's just one of the mini games. So huge variety here depending on which styles you decide to add. And so this is how you play Las Vegas Royale, both the basic version and the advanced version with these extra tiles. Las Vegas Royale is a lot of fun. I'll go ahead and say this has to be one of the best family games I've ever played. It's definitely gonna get in the rotation of my family, and I don't have game night these days due to the pandemic. When I'm gonna have game night again, I think this is also gonna be a pretty stable presence. This is just a cut above so many other family games. Again, with the exception of the theme that may not be family friendly for everybody, it has everything that I love in a family game, which is a game that is simple to play, the children can play together with adults, and yet at the same time, that presents so many interesting decisions, so many challenges. There are so many angles that you can look at the situation from to keep adults and children interested. There are just so many things to consider in a game that is as simple as roll your darn dice and choose a number. Because of course, you want to have majority to get the card, but if you spend all of your dice just in one single position that has a great card, then you lose a lot of other things. That's a problem that my daughter Louisa had. She always goes for the sixes, no matter how much she has invested on it, and then she's surprised that she got the best card and she still hasn't won the game because other people have grabbed a bunch of pretty good cards, and so the single great card is not good enough. And maybe the card in the position number 5, the best card, is just as good as the best in position number 6. So you want to spread out, but at the same time you want to be strong. And the trick, the plot twist of ties being worth nothing, that's almost like the linchpin, that's also the cornerstone of the design. That adds, again, so much flavor, so many interesting and fun decisions. Because it's one of the rare cases in which you're there thinking, I hope that you win. I hope you do better than me, because right now I have a die there. And you also have a die. Please roll more and get in first position. That's good enough. Maybe the 2 cards are the same value. Can't wait to be second. But I don't want to be first with the same number of dice, because then we're both gonna get nothing. So that element is so interesting because you have push your luck as the round progresses and the number of dice that you have is reduced. Then you have fewer options to try to dodge putting yourself in a tie, unless you want to put yourself in a tie. Look, I only have 1 die left. I have no way of winning anywhere where I'm not winning, but maybe I can come and annoy the whatever out of you because I'm gonna tie with you. So tying when you're not gonna win in order specifically to prevent an opponent from scoring, that's another great thing. The base game, although again it's the low results are not particularly interesting, the base game is good enough. I would be happy with it as a simple, light family filler. But then when you add those other tiles with so many different options that you can change from game to game, then that really elevates the game to the next level. And again, to a point that depending on whom I'm playing it with, I will choose different sets of tiles. So again, if I play with my wife, she doesn't like games that are too complicated, then I put 3 tiles there in which you simply get extra rewards. Also, if I'm playing with 4 players or 5 players, I'm not going to use the tiles that include mini games, because then if everybody's doing that, by the time the game goes back to me, I'm asleep already. But if I'm playing a 2-player game, then it works perfectly well. 2 players, you're playing with the dummy player, but it's one of the smartest dummy players I've ever seen. You simply roll those dice at the beginning of a turn from a party that is not participating. Put those dice there, so you still have to dodge those dice, but you don't have to do things for the dummy player like you have in other games. Then I'm gonna put a lot of mini games out there, and so my opponent and I are gonna have fun as a 2-player game. So it works perfectly well at with any number of players. My only recommendation is, again, with higher number of players, select tiles that do not have the mini games, select some other ones so that the game keeps moving. Because if you don't have the problem with the mini games, the game moves fast enough, and it is interesting to see what other players are doing, see how the situation change. You have friendly banter, you have a little bit of diplomacy. Look, true, if you select 3, you're gonna screw me over here, but look, if you select the 2 instead, you could get that other thing, or you can annoy mom, or da-da-da-da. We realize that it's a game that, although it's one of those where 1 player plays at a time, there's a lot of interaction when you're not playing, just simply by looking at what happens and trying to influence what the players are doing. There is an element of diplomacy that was not obvious from reading the rule book. It just looked about numbers in majority. But when you add humans, then there are more elements here that emerge than meet the eye at first. So Las Vegas Royale, this was so much fun. I can't wait to play it again, honestly. One of the best games I played in 2020, one of the best family games I played ever. A game that is disproportionately interesting, fun, entertaining, and deep even, than you would ever imagine from rules that are that simple. I'm very, very, very impressed with Las Vegas Royale.